Hello. I don't know why I keep doing the hello. Welcome back. Hopefully, you've been joining us all week. We have been putting out different recordings and discussions with different people from Chocolate Milk Cafe and introducing you to our team. Hopefully, you have learned some things along the way. Today, we are going to be doing an attendee experience. We don't really have a full name for the families or members or people who join our groups because our meetings because it's a catch-all. It's a community. We're peer-led. We're family. It just depends on each space and how we connect with the people within it. So today we are going to be talking to someone who has attended our Newark and East Orange meetings, Ruth, and I am going to pass it along so she can introduce herself and tell you a little bit about her in general. Again, I'm Takesha, in case you haven't, if you missed one of these and this is your first one, my pronouns are she, her. All right, Ruth, you can tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I am a first-time mom of a 13-month-old, and I found out about Chocolate Milk Cafe through social media, one of the postings.
Okay, that worked.
One of the breastfeeding groups online, there was a posting in there, and I said, well, let me just check this out. Actually, prior to that, I had a friend that I met in a local mom group who had mentioned, oh, you should try out this group. They meet in East Orange, and at that point, I wasn't up for actually really getting out much with the baby, but because he was about maybe 6 or 7 months at that time. But I decided to, once I got the second technical invite, informal invite through social media, I decided, okay, maybe this is something I should check out, and registered for a meeting. And I needed to find out more about breastfeeding because it was becoming more and more challenging at that point in the journey. When I first started, when I first started breastfeeding, a lactation consultant came to see us in the hospital and gave me some tips and techniques. And I had known several people that had breastfed, but never really had an in-depth conversation with them as to some of the challenges that I may face. So as things became a little bit more complicated, or not even just complicated, but just adjusting to having a newborn baby and trying to just what I need to do to get my body to produce properly and efficiently and to not feel so worn out. The feeling of being worn out was overwhelming. The process was overwhelming. And if I could leverage who was winning, the weight of having the breastfeeding challenges was winning over how I felt about myself. And so I felt like I felt as if I had to get some help. So I turned to formula for help. I didn't turn to finding out more about how I could navigate through the challenges. I would ask people here and there, but everyone's experience is just so different in breastfeeding that no one quite could really give me what was going to actually work for myself. So I can probably say until probably once I got into Chocolate Milk Cafe at 7 months or so is when I sort of felt a little bit more comfortable about what was going to work for me, because I was learning things that would work specifically. I was getting my specific questions addressed. But I had the benefit of being able to be home with my son to, try to read online and kind of research things and talk to people and eventually find out what would work, what wouldn't work. We did a lot of trial and error in the process. But eventually, with just having a supportive community of friends and really, really pressing them, did you ever experience this? Did you ever experience that while breastfeeding? And just hearing more and more about what people did. Oh, yeah, I did go through that. I did go through that, by the way. Just hearing their personal testimonies actually helped me along the way. I had one particular person in my corner, a cousin, who kept saying, you can do it, you can do it, your body was made to do it, you can do it. And because of her support, I really was able to make it through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 until I found the community in Chocolate Milk Cafe. I actually, another thing that sort of worked out is that my son rejected formula. Every formula we put him on, he could not tolerate the formula. And just his body rejecting the formula was just more motivation of having to learn about how to get my body to react, and not to react, but to produce efficiently so that I wasn't so overwhelmed by the process of breastfeeding. And so here we are at 13 months.
That's great. Go cousin, by the way. I was trying to be quiet because it is a little loud over here, but go your cousin. That was helpful. Question. I actually didn't have this as a question on here, but to go back, like what inspired you, like what made you decide to breastfeed in the beginning? Like, did you take any breastfeeding classes, or was it just something that was ingrained in you that you were going to do? How did you get to the journey of starting that journey? Or
It's something I actually did not take a class. I was interested in doing it, but I had a challenging pregnancy, and so it was one of those things that I just didn't get around to. I had a relative of a relative, an in-law of a relative who actually is a doula, and I want to say is doing something in breastfeeding. I want to say she might be studying to be a lactation consultant or is just recently certified. And she had mentioned certain tips to me that, just to kind of get my body ready, to breastfeed and dress. She tried to just walk me through a few things, which was helpful because I physically couldn't get to a class. At that point, we weren't doing so many virtual things. So it was just something that, I knew was beneficial. I didn't know a lot about it, but I knew it was beneficial, and I was willing to try it. I do have a sister who breastfed for about 2.5 years, and I know that my mother breastfed me for about 7 months. And I was her youngest. She has 6 other children. So to breastfeed your last child for 7 months, I said, okay, if she can do this, then I can do it too. So it's something that I knew would be beneficial, economically beneficial as well. And so I didn't have strong feelings about it. Oh, this is actually a good thing. I didn't have strong feelings about it. I knew I wanted to do it, but I was in the mindset of if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't, and I'm not going to force myself. There's so many other things that can happen when you put too much pressure on yourself as a new mom. Postpartum, I don't want this to become a postpartum issue if I can't do this. So if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And that's why I turned towards formula as well.
So when you your like initial latch when you first started, was it challenge? Do you have any challenges in the beginning?
Not so much. It was just more the fatigue. Yeah. It was just more the fatigue. But with him, he latched on right away within minutes. I mean, within minutes of being born, he latched on. So that was not an issue. It was more so my issues came a little bit further down the line because he couldn't tolerate my diet was affecting the breast milk and his ingestion or digestion.
So within the hospital or even pediatrician, like did you see any lactation support when you were in the hospital, or did your pediatrician ever bring up any lactation support?
I did see a lactation consultant in the hospital. I don't recall the pediatrician bringing up anything. I think she just checked in to ask how it was going, and I said it was going fine at that point. And then, but then when I did say, okay, I do need a little bit more help, are there any formulas? She recommended what would be most compatible with the breast milk.
Excuse me for laughing. I always crack up at that. Okay, and I'm just curious about the type of support you received before you even came across a chocolate milk cafe.
Well, they do. The pediatrician group, from my knowledge, they do offer a prenatal class as well as a breastfeeding course.
Okay.
But I had not signed up for either because I didn't know the logistics of them. But they do offer something. Okay. But I don't recall her asking me, did I take it prior or postpartum?
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm just curious. It's like in my head, I try to do like a little research on like what's available and what's happening for people. Okay, so you heard about it through, I think, yeah, and I remember, yeah, we have that this huge breastfeeding Facebook group in New Jersey,
Yeah.
and once in a while I go rogue and just put whatever I want in there. So I'm glad that works because sometimes it's like, oh, does anybody even see this stuff? Um, so let's talk about the group. So we before we press record, we chatted a little bit, and you actually joined the East Orange and the Newark. Did you start in Newark?
Out in Newark.
Okay, and then you go to the East Orange. And luckily, they are. So we were talking about they have different vibes. Newark is the fourth Thursday of the month. They meet in the evening, and East Orange is the second Saturday, which means the 10th. So based on when I'm recording this, it's either I want to say it's no, it's not. It's the 2 days from now. That's what it is. And they are in the morning. They're like 10:30. I want to
Yeah.
say. And they usually meet in the WIC office. And you did hear me talk about that a little bit because Norlandy is a facilitator for East Orange, and I interviewed her already. So can you tell us a little bit, talk to us about like your experience as a attendee of Chocolate Milk Cafe, what you get out of it, anything you want to like let us know, like that you enjoyed from it, or maybe you didn't enjoy it. I'm actually okay with you telling us things you don't enjoy. We're gonna keep it real here. And then, like we said, with like the difference in between the two meetings.
Okay. As an attendee, I feel as if there's always, I always get something out of the meetings. I may come in with, no questions, but something will pop up, something someone will say, or, stir something inside me, and then I think of something. So I always get something out. Sometimes I'm there as just a supporter because I might have had a conversation with someone who's having a breastfeeding challenge. And then I pop in, to ask their question, or I pop in just because it might be their first time attending. So I've been a networker, inviting people to come on to the meetings, just because I feel like they're very enriching, they're very empowering. There's so much that you can get out of them. So for me, that's why I come back. That's why I come back monthly, and that's why sometimes I jump on one. If I can't attend one, I'll attend the other. There are definitely different dynamics to the meetings, but they both work out. I feel like Newark, I like how they open with the question of the day. I call it the question of the day. The question of the day. And it kind of just, it's an informal icebreaker. But it sort of just gets, for me, it makes me, I'm a talker, so it gets me more comfortable with the setting. East Orange, everyone introduces themselves, and from the ones that I've been to, everyone introduces themselves, and if they have a challenge, sometimes, there was one particular meeting I remember being on, there was probably close to 10 people that day. There was a good amount, maybe 8, but there was a good amount. By the time everyone went through and introduced themselves and did their challenge, there was very little time to really address what the challenges were. So, but I did get my question answered in private, so that was perfect for me. But it was just the introduction sort of, I felt like, took away from the rest of the experience because everything was just so crammed at the end. But I guess that's what happens when you work with a larger group. Pros and cons to having a larger group.
It is. Even I think it's actually one of the cons for being virtual, because we get caught up in like the time restraints and not wanting to overwhelm people with being on the screen for too long. Whereas in person, we're lingering. That's the difference. And sometimes you can have like a one-on-one conversation with someone. But introductions can it's hard to cap the meetings with an introduction because sometimes people just go on a rant and you don't want to stop them. Definitely, I can see that. Yeah, I do. By the way, I do like Newark as well when they have their questions. Jillian and Claudette take care in like making sure that they hit these different. Um, and you'll meet Claudette as well because I
Yes,
intended.
I have.
Oh, no, I mean the audience.
Uh,
So that's on my schedule of well, these are gonna be I'm recording out of order, but so you'll know who Claudette is. And Ruth, I do want to thank you because one of the things that highlights is that you are a champion for our meetings. There are people who are one of the I think maybe the last meeting I was for Newark, it was like a couple of different people were like, "I'm here because of Ruth." So we need word of mouth because we're a interesting set of people in the Black community. Like you need some type of stamp of approval before you can like engage in something, and having like another person say, "Oh, this meeting is for you," is really helpful, and we have a lot of that going on.
well,
So
I
yes.
think part of it is too because, you know, I think as I'm learning about motherhood, some of the things you forget because there's just so much happening at once. But then other things you forget um, because you're on to the next stage of where you are with your child. So having spoken to people like my sister who breastfed for 2.5 years, or other people that I've known who have breastfed, they don't necessarily remember all the little intricacies or the little valleys you go through, the hills you have to climb, you know. And so when I meet someone and they're struggling, I'm just like, okay, here's a resource for you, you know. Um, Even if you can pop in for 10 minutes, come on and join because it'll be beneficial to you. I don't want people to be as overwhelmed as I was with the process. And for me, it you know, this was my time to come, but I don't want people to be as overwhelmed as deterred from doing something, which it is possible if you have the right knowledge. You know, I turned away because I didn't have enough knowledge. I was apathetic in the beginning, or not so much apathetic, but I was so um, nonchalant, I guess is a better word about it, in the beginning, because I didn't have enough knowledge to know that these are ways you troubleshoot. To me now, I know it's about troubleshooting. There are some people that sometimes I'll read online and they'll say, we tried everything and we just can't I just couldn't do it. And I'm thinking like, I wonder if they really exhaust all their possibilities. So
Yeah, sometimes they're trying everything is like every formula on the shelf, or like I just put my baby on and then I ask the pediatrician and they don't necessarily know as much. And not for nothing. I am all for all lactation support. Sometimes it's a barrier for some people. It's not as accessible. Like as somebody who luckily has a sister who's a lactation consultant, I never saw a lactation consultant in the hospital. No one ever came to my room to check the latch of my babies, and if they did, obviously I must have blocked that out of my mind because I do not recall it. But I definitely know for the first, the twins were. We didn't have a lot of like people coming in like checking whatever I was doing because I actually knew what I was doing by then. But yeah, didn't have the lactation support. I don't think our pediatrician has one. Like she's very a champion for breastfeeding, but I don't think she has one on staff or one to. I've never asked, but I feel like if you do, you should have something available. So I'm trying to get some chocolate milk cafe cards in her office now. I'm like, oh, yeah, we need to. She's not big, some pediatrician offices have like a lot of the formula stuff. She doesn't have a lot of that out, but yeah, it's just having that access or having like some type of information. Like you said, I like the word troubleshoot that you use because it was big for me personally doing the class and taking the notes and then being armed with that so that when something came up and then being able to check in with someone else and all that jazz, I think it is beneficial. But I also understand how some people are resistant to or reluctant to receiving that information or not really realizing how it benefits you in the end. Yeah. I think that's great. I like your perspective and experience on everything. So I would say sorry, but I think you are doing well that we didn't get connect sooner. But it feels like you kind of overcame those things, and you got what you needed when you needed it. What else? How else do we? Is there anything else you want to chat about? Because I think you hit all of my questions before I could really ask them. So you're. Oh, I do have a question. Okay, so I have been asking. I did ask the facilitators this, like, what as a attendee, like, what would you love to see with Chocolate Milk Cafe? What um would you like for us to provide, or what would you like to see for meetings moving forward? Is there anything that you're like, I wish Chocolate Milk Cafe did this, or maybe they can. Oh, look, we got a visitor! Yay! Hi.
You say hi?
You're up. Look at that face. Oh, he's so cute.
What was the question? What would I like to see?
Anything, like any aspiration, anything that you would love to see from Chocolate Milk Cafe moving forward, like as we grow. Is there anything that we could provide for the your community, or you, something that you think would be helpful?
I think the I'm not an Instagrammer, so some of the stuff from the Black Breastfeeding Week, if we could make that available.
We have that available. It's on our website.
Cool. See, I didn't do that.
Well, actually, so we did. East Orange did the last day. They did these breastfeeding. What is it called?
The videos, the testimonials.
Testimonials, yes.
Mm-hmm.
And while I have them all, it is a little rough to download them all because I ended up having to create a YouTube channel for us. So all the videos from the sessions have been uploaded to YouTube, and they're on our website. If you go to chocolatemilkcafe.com, and you can either go /BBW or BBW20, and you'll see there's a video link, and it'll have all of the ones that we hosted. I was able to get as many of those videos, and they're on there. You just click on it. You can watch it from the website, but it is we do have a YouTube account for that. The other ones, it'll take you to Instagram. You can still watch them on Instagram without having an Instagram account to see like the little sessions. If I can get someone in who is good at merging videos, maybe we can bring all of the testimonials into one video, and we can put
some of them. I did see some of them. I just thought with Instagram things disappear after a short period of time. So
they do. If you do it live, it was hard because it was a takeover. It was hard getting everybody to remember to save everything, but we were able to bring them to IGTV. Like there's like this new feature, IGTV, so they are still available. The ones that are not available, the ones that I can't pull down are the breastfeeding myths that Brooklyn did.
Okay.
But I think Fenda has them as recordings of her own. I don't think they were live.
Okay.
So I will try to get those from her. But the video, the sessions, the ones that were hosted on Facebook Live, we do have those on the website. That's my bad. I didn't actually announce that. I just put it up on the website. It was like, okay, eventually, at some point I'll tell everybody, and then I forgot. So yeah, so those are available. We're gonna work on that a little more, but that is a good one. Thank you for bringing that up, because that is now everybody else knows that you can watch the social media takeover that we did for each like the different locations did a takeover each day, and they all did like different videos. Most of them were hosted through IG Live, or a few were through Facebook. And for anybody who's not on any of those, like I said, I did manage to put them on the website, and they are available for your viewing pleasure, and they are good. So I can say that since I wasn't actually in them, so I'm not like patting myself on the back. I'm just raising everybody else's like. Wow. But yeah. All right. So that I'm glad we were able to accomplish something for you. Unless you have another one that I think I may have cut you off.
No, that's
okay.
That's all I think of. I just don't want people to go through the same mistakes that I went through with breastfeeding. I just want them to have a positive experience through it. So I know everyone's challenges is different, but
And I'm glad you're getting some of that through Chocolate Well Cafe. That is the goal.
yes.
Well, thank you. I am going to end because I am thinking of things I'm talking to you about, and that's not related to like why I have you here today. But thank you so much. Thank you for joining us. I'm glad you were able to let us talk first before you came in. And bye.
All right, say bye-bye. Can you say bye-bye?